A director's creative vision truly takes flight, weaving raw footage into a narrative that moves us, excites us, and stays with us long after the credits roll. Today, we delve into this transformative process of editing, how editing controls the rhythm, builds emotions, and crafts meaning, ultimately bringing stories to life. Let's have a look at the AV, please. We are privileged to have with us two outstanding personalities in this field. For moderating today's discussion, we have Head of Department of the Editing Department at Satyajit Ray Film and Television Institute, Kolkata, known for his academic rigor and passion for grooming the next generation of film editors, also a National Award winner. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Saikat Ray, sir. And we have the legendary editor, whose magical hand has shaped over 100 films across multiple languages, earning him several national awards. His work brilliantly showcases how editing is not just cutting scenes, but sculpting the story's emotional and narrative flow. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sreekar Prasad, sir. May I now request our esteemed steering committee member and renowned producer, Sri Ravi Kotarakara sir, to please come to the stage and felicitate our distinguished guest and honor them with a shawl.
Don't laugh at me, Sreekar. We share a different relationship. Okay. If you have to learn anything, if anything has to be done in cinema, you have to make right out of wrong. If you have to cover your mistakes, if you have to make something new, only one man can do it. That's an editor. He decides what to see and what not to see, what has to be shown and what not to be shown. And this person who's here has done nearly around 650 films. Can you guess how many languages he has covered? 17, 18, 19. Now he has covered 18. Now I don't know how many more languages he's going to. A man who has edited in 18 languages, there's no other person other than him. He has won 9 national awards. Okay? And that deserves a big applause. And the most important, he has worked under most of the top directors. When a top director worked with him, the director could explain some of his ideas, but all these top directors learned a lot from him. So that's the only thing. So kindly take your time. Listen to him. Listen to him carefully, because what happens is he will explain what not to do. What to do is not important. He will tell you what not to do. That is called deletion. And that he will do perfectly. And try to do that in your lives. You will be also soon directing films with him also. He is still interested in directing with youngsters. Give him a big hand and God bless him.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was 18 languages that he mentioned. I think it would be 19 because silence is also a language. Okay, yeah, we will be talking about film editing, one of the most boring parts of cinema making. People will agree? No? No. Okay, I just begin with a story. I've been teaching for quite some time now, and people keep on coming to me saying that what should I do in the future? Should I learn editing? Should I join courses in SRFTI, FTII? And one student came from one of the media schools and said that, sir, what else is there to learn? Because I know match cut, I know action cut, I know, and there was a special class where I also learned jump cut. So what else do I learn in 3 years' time? So I couldn't answer. So I start with this question: what else is there in editing?
See, I think when you're talking about cut, I think it's not a technical issue. It's more of an emotional issue, I think. You know, you have to drive your cuts with where emotionally it engages you. So that itself is the main thing which people have to learn, you know. So when somebody is actually editing a film, you're saddled with so much of footage, then the editor by default is taught theoretically how to cut, what continuities to maintain, how to actually assemble a cut, you know. But what we need to actually teach them is how emotionally we can drive the cut. I think that is more important, because most of the students I see are burdened when they get really perplexed with the amount of footage they have, and they think that everything which has been shot has to be used. So there is a lot of cutting which is done to satisfy the urge of using the footage, you know. I think that's not the way to look at editing. Maybe it's maybe you have to be very discretionary and exactly use whichever helps that particular scene and have that view, And what actually makes a film work is the storyline. So how to move the story ahead is what is important for an editor, and not exact. I mean, a match cut would obviously make a smooth transition from one shot to another without actually feeling that there was a cut. But it's not always about match cuts. It's about emotionally where the cut can happen, where it can go deeper into the story, how much to hold of a shot. And I think that's very important for an editor.
Yeah, so a lot of editors do complain that the point at which I got the film, there was nothing that I could do about the film. So it was not shot properly, or I do not have the shots that I want. So how do I save the film? So I think you have a different approach towards filmmaking.
Yeah, see, when I started, probably I would be in the same position because I'm looking for work. So I am trying to get whatever work that is available to me. So I don't have the freedom to choose how I want to do it. So I go with the flow. I work with the footage. See, the whole point is, even if you get some footage, which like you mentioned, that there may be problems in not having enough shots. The continuous attention of the editor is to how to get the best out of that particular available footage. So when this keeps happening, you start realizing that you can blend yourself with the particular subject and try to get the best maximum out of it. So that was initially, but then later, then you realize that, like you had mentioned, that we would try to want to go a little step further. So we started getting involved in the scripts. So when you're involved in the script, I somehow found that an editor was able to visualize that probably after it's shot, it would be like this, more than probably a new director or a cameraman, how it would sit together as an edit. So that actually helps you in guiding them to say that X is missing, or Y shot is missing, or some detail is missing. So you try to help in that process. So I've made it a point that over the years that I've been a part of the product from the first draft of the script. So I listen to the first draft, second draft, third draft, how many ever drafts it happens, and we keep going on. And the improvement in the script happens through my eyes. So even then, probably, even if you achieve about 60-70% of what you have imagined that you would do, I think you made a great film, because there are so many other constraints which will come into play, like actors and weather and production and money and everything. So it's the best possible route would be to actively involve all the technicians right from the beginning, so that you take it to the best point.
Yeah, so for the editors out here,
Yeah.
the best point to get into a film production is at the script level.
Yes, definitely. I think it is good to be a part of the script, because you understand what you're getting into. Because every film is not something which may be something you have experienced in life. Certain subjects do come which you may not have even not heard. For you to experience that, imbibe that into yourself, and probably do some research about it, you need time. So all these things can happen during this process. When these things happen, you obviously are in a better position to edit that film than you were without knowing the script.
Yeah, so I want to ask you a secret question. Do you get paid for this extra work?
No, you can't really ask. You can't sort of fix a price to that, because I think it's somewhere when you actually agree to do a film, it's not only about the money. You know the constraints of the production. Probably it'll be a very small film which will be made at 1 crore, or probably it'll be made at 100 crores. You know where it's going. And then you get involved. When you get involved, you have to be so involved that these sort of things don't even come into your mind because it is an expression which you're trying to create, you know. I think what we over the years learned is initially editing to me also was a very mechanical process when I started, because at that time, maybe about 30, 40 years back, the footage was very less and it was very clinically shot and things like that. Then they started getting a little more adventurous and starting shooting more angles, and with all the advancements, lots of things have been happening. So you start understanding, and there's a certain evolving, no? Because when I came to get a job was so important, to get that work, you know, then you work. When you start working, then you realize that suddenly with each experience of working with a director, you start experiencing different things. And that's the beauty of this work, is that no 2 days are similar. 2 days may be as stressful as the other day, but it will not be the same, you know, in terms of content or creativity. So this makes the person evolve as a film maker, and you try to improve. And when you start improving, you start owning up your work, and then you try to improve every time you do. So you don't do the same things over and again. You start seeing different points of view of the same thing, how to cut, and, you know, how to hold back information, how to actually let the information come in slowly. It's not about exactly being like, you know, in your face. Editing, you can hold back information, you can let things come in little late, and, you know, you start exploring different ways of telling a story, you know.
Right.
So I think that is what it boils down to.
But at the same time, a lot of people do say, a lot of experts say that distancing yourself from the production or distancing yourself from the material that was shot gives you a better edge while you're editing.
See, what happens is, obviously there is a sense of fatigue which comes in if you're working for quite some time on the same project on everyday basis. But I think naturally there are gaps, and if not, we do create gaps. I mean, we would probably edit the whole film and see, and then take a 10-day
No,
gap.
I'm actually talking about the possessiveness, the love for a shot or a scene.
Yeah, the
That a
editor
director might
himself
have.
is supposed to bring a certain ruthlessness into the whole procedure.
Yeah.
Because I don't, because I'm not going to be, uh, not going to be loving my thing, you know. I'm going to look at it very objectively. That is where the actually editor comes. If the director himself edits, probably he'll have the problem, because he took the effort of going shooting and executing it, getting the actor, getting the producer, spending hours together and all that. So he would have a little more this thing. But for me, I'm looking at it very differently. I wanted to work as a story, you know. So that is the only thing which works in our mind as an editor. So we would be a little bit, sometimes it can be ruthless. But the thing is, it's ultimately to get to a point where it works, you know. That is more important.
Of course, of course. So, do you consider yourself as a filmmaker or a surrogate mother for a certain time?
See,
Do you own the film that you do? And all films, I mean all films, not the hits.
yeah, no, I totally own all the films, because if I totally believe in something which we are doing, is when we are working on that. And so we give it the best possible attention to see its works. Sometimes you know it's not working at a very early stage also. But the thing is that it's something, you know, it's a sort of a commitment from a team. Because it's not me alone, so many other people are working. So as a team, we're committed to make it work as much as possible, at least, you know. So, because sometimes you would say that the premise could be wrong, and we were excited about the wrong premise, which will not probably make a impact with the audience, but you've still made the film. So you can't say, oh, now it's, I'm going to leave it, We have to work at it. We have to see the best possible way to get it to the audience, It may be make it shorter, make it better, whatever, or change the story around or screenplay around, whatever. Whatever it takes. It may not be the best option finally. It still may not work. But the intent never goes down, I think. I think that's the sort of commitment we give to a film if I'm involved.
Right. So again, a very typical question that we were talking about an editor getting involved in the initial part of the production, and I would ask you this question again, that it is said the film is made on the editing table. How far is this true for you?
I'll have to, I think, explain it to you in a different way to get to this question. Is a film, is shot on a daily basis, and how I look at it is, how I would like to work on it is as quickly as possible to the shooting. It's not like waiting for the whole shooting to finish to work. Some people work like that also, but I'm not working like that because I have the freedom to ask after so many years in this industry, probably. I don't know whether everybody is doing it like that, but I have the freedom. So I make my directors quickly give me the rushes. So when the rushes come to me, I'm editing on a everyday basis. At that time, we can call it, a micro edit, which is a sequence is shot, and that sequence, the idea is to get the best performances, the best shots, best takes into a sequence and make an edit. It's definitely is only about one sequence of a film. I'm not worried about the next sequence or the previous sequence. I know the story, but I'm not going to look at the transition, how it is, because I don't know how he's going to be able to shoot it. Because what he promises to shoot and what he will actually shoot depends on lots of logistics. So I'm at the micro level of editing, I'm just concentrating every day on one scene. This goes on till the period of shooting. After that, all these sequences, once they're edited, we put them together. And then my second process of editing starts, which is called the macro level, is when I'm trying to see from A scene to B scene, how does it go? How is the transition? I would have edited in such a way that it would have ended on a close-up. And then you realize the second scene, they have shot it from a close-up. So as a flow, you'll realize that probably it's not the best way to move from one scene to another when you see visually, because it's going to be distracting from one close to another close of different scenes. So sense of space, everything is going to get broken. So then we change the edit a little bit in the Mac. Once we keep doing that, we have a whole flow. Then the third process of editing happens is we see the film as a whole. This is where your question comes in. When I see the film as a whole, I definitely find that it is not working the same way as we had imagined it on script. It's nobody's fault. It's just that what you write and what you see, there's a lot of difference because it's in 3 dimensions. There are characters moving. There are some backgrounds happening. There's a time space which is happening. When it's written, it's very simply written that a man comes in and talks. But while shooting, is the location, the position of the place is such that he has to probably walk from there to here. It probably takes about 8 seconds to come here. That could be problem. So like this, lot of variables come. Not only that, there are a lot of things like, there are a lot of details which while writing, we make sure, writing is a very interesting process, where you write in such a way that you make sure that the audience understand what is happening. So in that time, if a guy is drunk, so there are several scenes in which it is been stated that he is drunk. Because you're unsure, you're thinking that it's better to do that so that you will make sure that when the point comes, you understand that he's a drunk, and that's how the story goes. But when you see it, it suddenly the whole perspective changes, because the first time it is so strong, the visual and the thing, you know he's a drunk. And the second and third doesn't make any sense. So you can just remove it. That is one thing. And while writing, if there are two parallel stories, sometimes you would write one story and a B story, and it will come as a hindrance to between A and B, you know. So when you see it, only you realize that probably this is unnecessary at this point. You'd rather let the story flow till a point and then get this character in, and not here. So invariably, I think in every film, in the edit room, the story is rewritten. It could be 10%, it could be even 50, 60%, you know, depending on the situation. But it's definitely rewritten, and that's the screenplay will change organically.
Right. Absolutely. So at this point, let us watch a clip from one of your films.
Yeah. So it's
Which
about
one? I think
terrorist issue, no?
the terrorist part.
You said yeah.
Okay. So please play clip one. Yeah, so this was a clip from the film Terrorist. You have visually managed to create the canvas and the narrative and everything. I just want you to talk about this sequence, a wonderful sequence, especially the first cut, as in the half face on this side and a cut to the other face.
Yeah, see, Terrorist was a film which was, why this clip was shown was that it evolved at the editing table, you know. It had a basic storyline, it had some sequences, but there's hell a lot of visuals in the film, which were put together like this, you know, to create a rhythm of the character. And but a lot of silences and things like that. So it was all happened not by screenplay, but by working at the edit table, you know, trying out things. So these group of shots can come together to make sense at some point. The main story is a small story which runs parallelly. It's about a suicide bomber who's going for a job. But in between, all her emotional upheavals have to be created like this. So, because the director himself is a great photographer, cinematographer, it shot a lot of material like this. So, at every point where introspection or she's actually worried about somebody watching that what she's doing while she's preparing for the actual job. These things we had to work without actually a fixed screenplay, you know. It didn't, there was no, it was not very clearly mentioned that it has to be here or there. So it was, which gives you, I think it was a very good exercise for me, because it suddenly opened up uh, a thought process in me, for me at that point, is that visually, by juxtaposing a lot of visuals silently, because silence is, I think, very important. You know, you have to be very comfortable with silence as much as you're comfortable with cutting dialogues, I think. So, and this happens, you know, to get a rhythm out of it and to explore this, you know. So I could, because of this, I have tried out in further films also, like Vanaprastham and other films, where we have used a lot of silences, but the story is there, story moves forward, but in the silence you understand the story and the pain and these sort of things. So for me, it was a good experience.
Yeah, so invisibility is something that is, as in, from the very beginning, we talk about this term,
Correct.
that the editor has to be invisible. He should only come out when the payments are made. So, so otherwise,
When the payments are not made.
okay, so that's a very, very strong factor, because we tend to, as in, I'm talking about non-filmmaking people, as in the masses. They appreciate editing which can be seen, like an action film or a war film, and oh, what a wonderful edit. But actually, wonderful edits happen in films like these, or a lot of films that you have done, where editing is invisible. So how do you look at it?
See, actually, you know, the editing is something which is a very internal process of the filmmaker, you know, because it is designed to very cleverly juxtapose a lot of shots and make you feel that you see a long scene, because it's impractical to shoot in one shot the whole thing because of the dynamics of the characters and a 360 thing. So this has come about. So how it came about in the initial stages of editing was when the actually film was invented and things like that. They used to have one single strip of thing. Then they said, okay, let's join two things and make it longer. Then they made three strips and made it longer. So then you realize that if you put two people looking at each other, suddenly makes it interesting. So editing was a development, a technical development, and it had direct relationship with storytelling. So when this was happening, you know, as we went on with this, there was never a idea that it is something to be noticed. Edits are noticed only when the timing of the shots between in the cut is not correct, you know. So if for example, I'm saying something and somebody is listening to it and replying, and if he says to the given situation, if he says it in the right timing, you wouldn't realize that there's a cut in between.
Yeah.
A layman would not realize. I mean, if you're looking at for cuts, then a cinema goer, I mean, from the industry they will. But for a audience, they are looking at it like a flow of events. So what can disturb that rhythm is the timing, you know, between shots. So if there's a fight, the timing between the shots is at a particular way. That's how it is in real life. So it has to be in that timing. If it is something prophetic, then there should be those pause to take in that information. And so this becomes very important as editing to make it very invisible. And I don't think you should notice that a film has been really it has cuts and edits. Then it actually will give you a feeling that that you're watching disjointed parts. You know, you want to see it as a story, and you want to forget yourself and immerse yourself. So that immersive quality which you want in a film will come when there's a sense of invisibility in the film, invisibility in the cuts. So I think the most important thing to achieve that would be to cut in such a way that the angles don't jump. That's why they say don't jump too much of axis, all that. But mostly it's the timing I've noticed. A lot of places things can become very staccato. Two people are talking and they're just going on talking so fast. Sometimes it happens with inexperience. Some people can edit like that. And then that makes it a little unbelievable and you know something is wrong. You don't know what is wrong, but you know something is wrong. And it'll probably put you off from the idea that editing was invisible. So I think that's what is...
Right, right. Okay, so at this point, let us watch a clip, the invisibility that you were talking about. Let us watch this simple sequence from PS2, right, where two characters, one character is just entering, and let's experience the invisibility factor here.
Okay.
Okay, so clip 2. The lights off, please.
வீரமிக்க இளம் புலிகளை வரவேற்பதற்கு சரியான முறை அதுதானே?
Yeah. So I think what was important in this sequence was the perfect balance of shots and narrative growth. That was very important because at no point I was feeling that the story is not progressing. Although it's just a situation. It's just
got
two people
varying
meeting.
emotions in this. Is that you have to feel that she knows there is a presence of him, and it has to culminate. The rhythm has to be there that it culminates in a point where they actually meet after several years. So both of them are wanting it and not wanting it. That sort of thing. So we played with the silence and till the moment of actual speaking. So I think that way this was designed, thought, and it fell into place like this.
Yeah, so let's talk about complex editing now, as in we have covered the simple methods of editing. In multi-narrative editing, as in where you have a number of stories, as in flowing together, either they are meeting or they are not meeting. So how do you handle that? How do you conceive? How do you
actually,
go forward?
multi-narratives, you have to balance the narratives. Balancing the narratives is not necessarily equal time. It's balancing the gravity equally, gravity of the story equally. That is what is important in multi. So what happens is, for example, when I was doing a multi-narrative, like maybe a film like Kamine, there was two stories. One was a really roller coaster sort of story which was happening at a very fast pace. And there was a parallel brother story, twin brother, happening at a very slow pace. Slow pace in there is a romantic thing is happening. So now, if you measure this and that, usually it is when you have multi-narratives, you try to keep it the lengths even, so that it somehow balances. You're just about, before you forget that there's another story, you go back to that story. Otherwise, if you keep holding on to one story and then don't show this. So it's a question of balance. So when the question of balance has come, I realized in that film is that the balance is not only the duration, it's the gravity of the situation also, or the slowness of the situation, everything. So when so much is happening in 2 minutes, then when next sequence which is coming, which is a romantic angle and things like that, even 2 minutes of that looks like 6 minutes because it's intercut. So somehow to make the balance of both is very important for an editor. So you have to look at it emotional balance rather than physical balance of duration. So that is what in the multi-narratives I found by experience. And I think it really, we've also worked on a lot of films which have multi-narratives which are like 4-5 stories at the same time. So always we try to make sure that you come back to the story. You know, you have to come back regularly to the story at a rhythm that you don't forget the story. Otherwise, you can so get involved in one story and just not be involved in the other story because it comes in much later. So the balance you have to maintain. So it's basically by emotional balance, I think. You know, sometimes emotionally, in 1 minute, it may be so heavy that it will fulfill your need at that moment, and then you come back to the next. So that balance between 2 stories, 3 stories, 4 stories, like films like Firak and August Sun, which is a Sri Lankan film, all these had these sort of things. So, but what we try to do is emotionally connect these multi-narrative stories through some medium of thread or flow. So in August Sun, a Sri Lankan film, what we did was we let a commentary run throughout of a match, you know. So even the Tamils are listening, the Singalas are listening to it. It was possible at that time because the real time was so many hours only, you know, about 6-8 hours for a one-day match. So we thought, why not use this to go across so that emotionally you're connected, that it's happening at the same time. But different things are happening which have no connection to each other. But still there is something which holds you as a thread. You know? Even in Firak, the whole emotion that it was happening while riots was happening. We never show the riots, we never show anything. But the scenes are moving in such a way, but you always have the threat of riots behind you, you know. So that holds this whole narrative together. So you have to find a tool which will help you in holding it together when you have multi-narratives, I feel.
One thing that I wanted to ask you, as in this is actually a question that comes from people who start learning editing, is that I have a situation. The situation can be very simple, that a policeman comes to somebody's house, right? And you have a coverage shoot. You have taken shots from every angle possible. And you are there to edit. So it can also be a one-shot sequence. You can have 7 cuts and 7 shots. You can have many options. So when you're editing, how do you decide that, okay, this sequence will have 7 shots or this will have 1 shot or whatever?
So if let's assume editor is working, if he thinks like this, you know, if that story does not move, no cut can save the film, you know, or a number of cuts or less cuts doesn't make any sense. So every time you cut, or you need to look at it how the story moves forward, you know. So when you have one shot and you're just attaching the other shot, there should be some emotional connect, story movement, something should be there for us to. So that is where, you know, it's not about having number of shots. The emotional connect with the audience can happen in even a single shot. So that discretion, I mean, you can ask me, how will you judge that? That is something comes from your gut, no? So when you watch, and if you are, you like film, you know what it does to you. So when you're watching it, you're realizing that at a point, a shot loses its whole purpose. You know, you get tired of it, you know, is when probably you move on. Or when the performance is falling, you know, then you go on. Or when the gravity is increasing, so that you need to go closer for the emotion to come better. Is there? So if an editor is working and if he wants to cut, he should reason it out with himself. Why is he cutting at that point? If he should find an answer and then cut, instead of just cutting because there is a close, there's a wide, there's a top angle, there's a wide shot, you can easily cut. So then it becomes a mechanical process of joining shots. It'll probably still convey what you want to convey, but it won't convey it effectively. For it to effectively convey what you want to convey, you'll have to think and why you're cutting at that point and why not another point. You know, so that is the difference between finer editing and just
Right.
mechanical.
You also
edit.
talked about performance. That is
Yeah.
quite important because for a long duration shot, you also need the performance to be perfect and at a certain standard.
See, actually, a very important thing for an editor is to judge the performance. It's not how to judge a performance. A performance need not be, it cannot be judged only by the actor's prowess. It's to be judged by what that character at that point has to behave like. That is more important than actor showing off his acting. That is not important. Some actors do it very well, but if he's not in character to that particular, the character he's playing, you know, that character should play like this. Probably in the first 2 takes he tried like that, and then he thought, no, he is going too subtle, and he'll try to do a little bit of overacting and things like that. Those things is what we latch on to and don't allow, because we don't want anybody to see a actor coming in place of the character. I think that's very important. I mean, this is our wish list. Sometimes it may not happen because some people will behave in such a way, and it may come through also. You may find that he's behaving more like a star than the character. But as much as possible, that's the whole idea. So that is what happens in the number of takes a person takes, a director takes, and that's what happens when an editor watches those number of takes and picks out the moment, not because he's selling the lines correctly, he's telling it correctly to the character he's playing. If he is a laborer, how he will say, or if he's suddenly they can slip out of character and say something else. So that has to be controlled. You know. So another thing which is important is that when you have multi-characters, it's not only about getting the best performances, it's also about covering up. That's what editing, most of the time we are doing, is trying to cover up the bad performances. So how you cover up the bad performances, luckily because of shoot on the other characters, you can go to the other characters, and so when you go to the other characters, it should not seem that you've inserted unnecessarily something, and just to avoid some bad performance or to cut off a portion. It should not look. So organically, where the reaction should come, well, these are very crucial to make it very smooth and invisible and things like that, because otherwise you'll wonder why suddenly this, you just, lots of times they use it like that, is they just put one reaction to take off lines for trimming the situation, which is, they feel it's not necessary. But if it has a purpose, or that shot, it comes at the right point. If you can create a meaning for it, and lots of times it happens that there will be one stray shot which will come, like in Vanaprastham when we are editing, the director wanted at a point, Shaji sir, as a metaphor, that what you would call a lamp is lit and the fire is moving, so, and that he wanted at a particular place where these people make love and all that. But then you realize that it could become very obvious that we have done it for this purpose. So what I tried to do was, when he has taken the shot for this purpose, because he doesn't want to show that process. Instead of that, it can come like this. It's somewhere, So it's a surreal. So when we did edit, I realized that if I put it at one place, then it becomes a thing which, it sticks out. When it sticks out, then you notice it not as a, what you'd call an idea, but as a gimmick. So I just put it in several other places from the beginning of the sequence, where the fire is in different tandem, and then it goes into two fires together. So it becomes an idea. So like this, you have to discover yourself while editing, to make it not look obvious. Because ideas can be very obvious. The idea is very good, but it can look very obvious when you're. These sort of things happen only as you evolve with different people, different directors, different movies, and you're working continuously, and then you keep thinking that what can you do It's not about trying to do something differently, but it's not about doing something which is very cliched and has been done to death also, no?
Right. So, and after deleting all these bad performances, the person gets the best acting award after a point of time. So I often used to debate.
No, but
debate. No, I often used to debate with my actor friends that half of your award money should come to the editor.
No,
So,
but that's his, you should also understand that the editor's taken for that job, so he has to do it. It's not like
no,
doing him
there's a
favor.
wonderful comment by Ritik Ghatak while he was shooting Tita Shakti Nodinam in Bangladesh. He said that, as in, there are no actors and they are live moving set properties in front of the camera, and that is what he commented on acting. So, do you find this true?
See, I mean, it's a little bit of a, what you'd say...
Controversial?
Not controversial. It's not about controversial.
Any actors in the
way
auditorium,
films-
please shut your ears.
No, no. It's not. There's nothing controversial in this, but because I've already said, that I believe in characters rather than stars. We work with stars, but there is a tendency over time. It's not the same, I think, the industry. Now it's a little bit of a star-driven industry we are undergoing now. It could be a phase, and it could return back to director-based industry after some time. These things happen cyclically all over the world and different. So sometimes all these political films, everything also happens like that all over the world. No? So like that, this is also a period where it's more star-driven because they bring in the money. So, but as a filmmaker or a film goer, I think it's important that you look at a character and come out of the film enjoying a character. But maybe it's not true for many, who go to watch stars perform something.
Okay, so we talked about multi-narratives, and there is one very important thing about editing is parallels.
Yeah.
As in when you have parallel narratives running one after the other, and how do you balance? It's like driving 2-3 cars together.
Yeah, the thing is that parallel stories can come, parallel storytelling, I would rather say, can come because of various situations. One could be that at the same time something could be happening. You can't go in real time and show one thing and then show another thing and then show another thing. It would be interesting as separate sequences, but as a timeline of time and space, it will look illogical. So then you want to show in a way that all these three things are happening at the same time. When that sort of situation comes, it makes it very interesting, but very difficult, because you have to have the impact of one situation, a situation, because they're happening at the same time. So when you finish one, you can't start from there again. You have to go to a different point because the first one would have progressed for another few seconds. So that way we have to compose to come to it. Sometimes it is done like this. These are situations where a thing is happening at the same time. Sometimes parallel storytelling has become a thing of great interest in recent times because of the, I must say, because the patience level of the audience.
Lack of attention.
No, of the audience.
Yeah, lack
the
of
audience,
attention.
lack of patience. So they are getting so impatient nowadays that they don't want a scene to really be for a long time. They're wanting it to quickly move. So we come up with these ideas that probably these two scenes, which have similar ideology, or they reflect on each other, or they echo the thing, emotion of these two scenes, we intercut them to just increase the pace of the thing. This is happening a lot nowadays, you at the same time two things are happening. Something is happening here, something is happening there, and you drive. probably in the end you come and connect them together also, or you may not connect, but it drives the pace up at that point of the story, which is the order of the day, you know. So, so like that, different ways. So this one example we have is about
The CCV example?
we can show
Okay,
that,
so,
which is real time parallel cutting.
Right, right. So
There
can
are
we
three
have
assassinations trying to happen.
clip 3?
This particular sequence, we have full-blown sequence, sequences of each situation. I mean, all the three parallel stories have full sequences shot. But then we realized that it's not practical to show in terms of timeline or nor a screen time, because it's just going to defeat the purpose. Then we incorporated into one audio track of song and then put everything together to get to this, you know. So this is what we mean by parallel editing in one phase. And the other thing is also to make a particular situation faster, you can actually edit two similar emotionally echoing sequences together.
Right. So the director and the editor making the film inside a dark room is one thing, but the product is actually for the audience. So how do you, or do you factor in the emotions of the audience? How are they going to react?
Yeah. Definitely. I think it's very important. See, what happens is when we're starting, I mean, getting into a film, for me, over experience, I've realized that you have to, I mean, especially the newer directors who come, the first question I would ask is probably what is your target audience? Because I definitely want to know how to go about it or how to advise if it's especially, because where are you going to show this film? You know, I mean, everybody wants the whole world to see the film. That is the wish list. But the thing is that if you make it in a certain way, is where certain places it is easy to be accepted, you know. So if you want the pan-Indian audience to be everybody in India want to see, you make it in a certain way. It also depends on the subject when they come. But I would always advise them not to confuse themselves saying that I want these people to see, I want festivals to see, I want and everybody to see the film, because the level of exaggeration is very different in the way we have to treat in the editing. So it's better for me to be clear. I know you're making film for the festivals, get a name out of it, and then you're going to go and release it as a product which has been certified as a good product by the whatever festival, awards and things like that? Or is it directly, because a particular thing, emotion, in a commercial setup is very vastly exaggerated, you know, in terms of screen time. Anything is supported by background music and you try to emotionally pull the audience into it by really going hammer and tongs at them. While if I'm going to send it to a festival, if people are looking at sending it to Cannes, or you have to compare it, the level of subtlety with which they are telling their stories. I can't have a film. So somewhere, I think people have to know. So when I know, so if I'm editing a film for a big star, I know it will be very exaggerated. A guy walking from left to right is going to take 10 seconds because I'm waiting for the crowd to hoot for him and things like that. I would probably try to, then others, I would be a little more restrained. I will try to convince them it's like getting too much. But still, the level will be like that, So you're playing with the audience's attention.
But how do you change yourself? As in, you're at the same time you're editing PS2, and you're also editing a film like, say, Paradise.
Yeah, it's basically, you have, that's what I'm saying. When you're getting into it, you try to absorb the story, and then this is what this film is going to do. You know, somewhere the clarity has to be in our mind that we have to treat it like that. So now when Paradise we are editing, it's like very clearly, you know, it's about being as close to reality as possible, and there's no exaggeration involved, or no spoon feeding involved, because the audience which are coming to see it also are going to watch this sort of cinema. I mean, it's going to be in that pool of films which are going to be similar, and we are competing with them, you know. So somewhere you have to be very careful. So how I've gotten used to it from, because I've been working on either. See, I like realistic cinema very much, because I think cinema is something which I feel which I realized. It's not that I was born knowing this. I realized is that something which is for perpetuity, you know, something. So you feel that you're leaving the director's making of his vision. We are trying to get it the best possible way and leave it there. I mean, you move on, but that film is there.
Stays as
It
memory,
could be there
right.
for 100 years, it could be there 75 years, and you go back and see it at it, and you don't cringe that, oh God, did we do this work? It should not be like that, no? In terms of technical. But even in terms of story, everything, no? So I think that is very important, to be in this line and learn and give it back. And that is somewhere very important for me.
Right, right. So can we have a quick look at this Paradise
Yeah, yeah,
sequence? Yeah, it is clip 5.
How can you be so happy, Amma?
You want me to be unhappy?
അതല്ലേ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്.
Hmm.
നമ്മളിവിടെ ഇങ്ങനെ സ്റ്റക്കായിട്ടിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ how can you be so happy?
Yeah, so how can you be so happy? So yeah, I really like this sequence. So yes, so you have been editing for 30, 40 years. And of course, a lot of people have this question, the coming of AI and everything. So the first thing that AI would look for is your style. Because they will search for an Indian editor and your name will come forward the first. And they want your style to get into their big data and replicate
But
as a style. So do you believe in a style, first of all? This is the first question.
That's the point. The thing is that I would probably have to go and check out what is my style in AI. But because I don't believe that there should be a style, because always you're trying to, see, the only thing is trying to make it smooth, make it invisible, make it as endearing, and the pauses. I think pauses in film is a huge thing which people overlook. A pause between A dialogue and B reaction really makes the scene work. Even if you see this scene, the way he looks at her, instead of asking a question, and he looks at her for what she's doing to him, is far more impactful than, you know. So you create pauses. Sometimes it's not short also like that, in the sense that probably they have not left so much pause. In editing, that's the beauty, is that you can create those with the footage you have. So you somehow create so that some things unsaid are so beautiful. Some things said are nice. But, so those sort of. So all these things you try to incorporate. But the thing is that I can't foresee myself following one style, because each subject is different, each story is different, each director is shooting it differently. It may be the same scene I'm doing 10 times over my career, similar scene. But the thing is that it's been shot differently. So all the time, you're only trying to look at somehow to make that scene work. So it's not about doing the same cut again, it doesn't work for me like that mentally. But in retrospect, if somebody is watching and see that, oh, this guy has been doing the same thing, even directors do the same thing. A lot of people have similar sequences coming in a lot of films if they're making a lot of film. So like that, something may happen. It could happen. But there's no conscious decision to have a particular style other than trying to be realistic and as smooth as possible.
So how do you see the new technology, the AI or whatever, the
See,
VFX that is happening
every new
nowadays?
technology, when it comes, there's a lot of resistance, frustration, and things like that, because you hear things. It's like social media. You hear things, but you don't know. You haven't experienced it. So even my assistants, a lot of people come and ask me, "Oh, that's all. It'll take over editing. I don't know about my future and all that." No. They have that apprehension because they think that AI will replace everything. But I think when equipment changed, when we were actually editing on film, and then we moved on to Steenbeck, and then from movie to Steenbeck to non-linear and whatever, Avid and things like that. So it's a continuous process, I think, for man to keep growing. So something new comes up. Now we try to use that as a tool. I don't think that AI is going to replace film editing, because I don't know whether that will be able to do what I'm not confident that it can, because it will be a mechanical thing. Whatever AI is saying is it doesn't have depth. It just gives you an overall, right now we are using AI for getting information. Any information we want, we can get it fast and things like that. And it's also helping in mechanical things in the process of editing also. In some softwares they've added so that you do some mechanical jobs quickly. You want to take off all the unnecessary sounds in your soundtrack, all the noise and all that. You can put it through AI and get it removed. But to really feel emotionally and cut it at the right point, and then get the feeling and how much length to keep. See, you can shoot a cry, actor may perform a crying for about a minute. Now, we are judging that and keeping it to a length where it affects the audience and doesn't annoy the audience. You can show 2 minutes of crying, and at the end of it, you're so bored of it that, you lose the impact of. Anything is like that. See, the most important thing in editing is, when do you, even critics, most of the critics, whenever a film doesn't do well or whatever happens or the length is too much, the first thing they mention is editing, they could have trimmed 20 minutes. And it's a very common thing, because they're associating editing with the length of a film. It's not necessarily. So half the critics don't know how to judge a good editing and bad editing. Probably. Some people may know. But how I would judge a good editing is bad editing is, if a good edit is happening, it's not about the length of the film. It's not about but that's because that's a call of the story. It's a call of the screenplay. We can advise to not make it so prolonged and things like that if you think it's not working. But if he wants to tell that full story, it would probably take so much time. The most important thing for me to look at editing is where to end a particular sequence. See, every sequence has a purpose, and that purpose gets satisfied at a point. Beyond that, that scene should not continue. When it continues, you can say it's loosely edited. And if the story doesn't move for a long time and suddenly there are lots of speed breakers and things. That could be a little bit of a loose editing. But it's not about physical measuring. There are films which are very powerfully working at 3 hours and there are films which are not working at 2 hours. Okay. Surely, if new filmmakers come, I advise them to make shorter film on a general basis because over the years, the audience patience has reduced to watching long films. So it makes sense to make it. That is okay. But to judge editing on that basis is a little bit of too much.
Right. So we have actually talked a lot about films being made. Let's talk about editors being made now. So there are a lot of, I really believe there are a lot of editors here who would, or students who would love to join you or somebody like you as assistant editors. So what do you see as an experienced editor? What do you see in a person who wants to become an assistant editor or an editor in future?
Yeah, I think an editor requires patience, A. Then probably he can drink a lot of chai and back up your files so that you don't get stuck without backups. But on a serious note, I think any job requires a certain commitment. It's not like you can't, you have to like films, otherwise you wouldn't be getting into films, which is, but I think somewhere being open to working with others, I think is very important, I think that's the important quality of an editor because you have to handle your directors. So you're working with somebody else. So that guy has a lot of opinion and authority on the film also. So you cannot think that my edit is sacrosanct, is somewhere, So lots of times what happens, the director says, after everything is locked, they say, we want to make a small change. And it's not going to be a small change. It's going to be a long affair, So somewhere it's going to go there. You have to be prepared for that. It's not about, So, I mean, every person has their own way of looking at things, but here, especially if you're an editor, you have to be very accommodative. You're working with so many different crafts, so you have to have them in also mind. It's not about you just cracking the edit. You think you have cracked the edit. It may not be. So if somebody comes and tells you something about the edit, you should be open to think, why is he saying? If you think that you're right, then you have to put forth, which requires, again, patience. It's not about unilateral decisions. Nowadays, I see very little patience with kids who come. They say, oh, too much, I've done it 5 times and still he's not, they get very impatient, which probably won't work in this sort of job. You have to be patient, you have to be open, you have to be open to ideas, you have to explore ideas. Your ideas, to sell your ideas also, you need patience because some people may not buy your ideas. You have to convince, show them. So which means a lot of hard work has to be put in. So you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, so the last question before I open the session to the audience, what is finally cinema for you? Is this just entertainment, just something, or something more than that?
No, that's what I already told you. Cinema to me, over a period of my career, I suddenly find it a tool. It's not about making, it's a social comment, or it's a thing which it's an expression. So after 10 years, I'm watching this film. Oh, it was, situation was like this, 10 years back or 50 years back or 20 years back, you still are able to enjoy that and also know a lot of things. So somewhere it is leaving something in this world, and it can be a message. If you want to socially make awareness, it's there. You can, right. Or you want to entertain people, you can. There are different forms in which, but the whole thing is to engage them into telling your concept. And whenever I'm listening to stories, if I feel that this story has to be told, that is the feeling you have to get to tell a story, So sometimes we make all sorts of stories, because even editors have to make money, so you work in all sorts of films and things like that, because wherever it's remunerative and things like. But whenever an opportunity to tell a story, and it's a story which a lot of people have to, this is the greatest form available to tell, because instantly you can be told to so many, and this story has to be told, you feel instinctively. So that actually drives you to tell. It's about storytelling, I think.
Yeah, it's a cultural, social footprint that you leave behind. Okay, so can we have questions from the audience?
Hello, sir. I'm Jyoti Priyan from Tamil Nadu. Good evening, sir.
Hi.
So I have two questions.
Why
So,
okay.
first one is, you worked both in non-linear editing system and also in linear, Moviola and that.
Yeah.
Does that technical changeover change your creative approach in any ways?
See, for me, the way I learned editing, everything was on celluloid and things like that. The principles of editing didn't change much in my mind, but the tool of using the equipment to make that happen faster was what interested me when the change happened. It made decisions faster. It gave me options. Before, on film, it was difficult to have versions, because they will give only one print. That print has to be edited. So if another version has to be done, the whole thing has to be undone and then done, which practically is difficult. It only happens sometimes. But here you have a technology where you can do multi-versions and see at the same time. A works or B works or C works. So sometimes I have 3 versions of the same scene, because I'm trying to experiment and see if probably if you look at it like this, it will be better like this. And then we take a call on which to use. I would have probably narrowed down to one, but I want to bounce these 2 on to my director to know his feedback as a second this thing. So that way I use the technology, but I think the rules and the way of working has been same.
Okay, sir. The next one is, you said about the less attention span of the audience, right? So now we could see so many films have so many fast cuts and so many obvious transitions. How do you see that?
Transitions, huh?
Transitions, because of this social media effect. This
Yeah,
happening.
that's what. It is, see, the younger the audience, the newer generation, all you're exposed to so much of social media, reels and all sorts of things, So you expect quick storytelling. And some have taken it to a level where, gratification, you get happy with only highs. You don't want to really see a story. Because in reels, what you're seeing only the high points of small things. So that has become a way of storytelling. So we have to be careful with a film which is made for commercial reasons, to see that we don't really push that audience away. So we try to adapt. The storytelling is much faster now than before. So that is how we deal with this.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, my name is Ram. I'm also from Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
So after coming to IFFI, we are watching lot of films. So in which some films we feel like you said about the story progression, but in some films the format is like there is a short film A, then there comes a short film B, then there comes a short film C, and by the end of the movie, there is some common things happening in all the 3, but it doesn't hit you right at the moment when you see the film. When you go back to room and try to introspect or think about it, then you get to know more about the film, more about the concept.
Yeah.
I'm asking about that kind of
Yeah, it's perfectly. See, filmmaking is an expression of somebody, who wants to tell a story. If you are able to get that story at the end of the day, that means he's successful in making you think, which is a good process, So it's not about only you when you're going and thinking about it, which means something has affected you in that film. You know, that is what he was trying to tell, and that is what is storytelling for him. So I think it is successful. See, films don't have to be necessarily in one way. Some films are shown in a different format. Some are very personal. Some are, so it's different form of expression, no? But in everything, there is a flow of events which keep you engaged to the film. If you're not engaged, that is what we are talking about storytelling, actually.
Okay, no more questions from Tamil Nadu.
Excuse me.
Kerala.
Sreekar Prasad garu.
Achha, where is the mic? Just raise your hand.
Here.
I can't even see.
ఒకసారి తెలుగు వాళ్ళందరూ లెగిసి సార్కి ఒకసారి తప్పట్లు కొట్టండి ప్లీజ్. తెలుగు వాళ్ళందరూ లెగాలి ఒకసారి. లెగో. వెల్కమ్ టు గోవా సార్.
Thank you.
వెల్కమ్ టు కళా అకాడమీ.
Okay.
ఇంకేంటి సార్? ఒకసారి లెగిసి నుంచోండి సార్, వచ్చినప్పటి నుంచి కూర్చునే ఉన్నారు. ప్లీజ్ ఒక్కసారి లెగిసి నుంచోండి సార్. యా. మీ మూవీస్లో దిల్ చాతా హై, త్రిబుల్ ఆర్ లాంటి మూవీస్ అంటే నాకు చాలా బాగా ఇష్టం సార్. మీ దిల్ చాతా హై చూసిన తర్వాత నుంచే గోవాకి రావటం మొదలుపెట్టాను. ఇంకా గోవాలోనే స్టక్ అయిపోయాను సార్. మేబీ మీరు వచ్చారు కాబట్టి బయటపడచ్చు సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ ఫర్ యువర్ గ్రేట్ వర్క్. ఒక 3 things ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయగలరా సార్?
3 things, huh?
Yeah.
What?
సార్,
Tell.
ఫస్ట్ థింగ్ గూస్ బాంబ్స్ గురించి ఒకసారి ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయండి సార్. ఎందుకు రాజమౌళి గారు మూవీ చూస్తే 3-4 times గూస్ బాంబ్స్ వస్తాయి, అవి ఎలా తీసుకొస్తారు? ఇది క్వశ్చన్ నెంబర్ 1 అండి.
గూస్ బంప్స్ అనేది ఒక టర్మ్ which is for a feeling you get, a high you get when you watch something. So probably you like that sort of moments which he's creating, and you get that high, so it gets into that. It's not exactly, I think, I don't know whether that is the whole purpose of making films, but if you're getting goosebumps at that sort of films, you should enjoy that. That's all, I think.
ఇంత మీ కెరియర్లో మీ బెస్ట్ మూవీ ఏది సార్? మీకు ఇష్టమైన మూవీ?
ఒకటి లేదు, ఇంకా మేటే వస్తుంది.
3 movies చెప్పండి సార్.
లేదు, ఇంకా మేటే చేస్తాను అనుకో.
ఇప్పుడు ఒక్కడి ఫ్యాన్స్ సార్ మేమందరం.
దట్ ఒక్కడే, లైక్
ఒక షార్ట్ చెప్పండి సార్ మీకు ఇష్టమైన, ఇంత మీ జర్నీలో మీకు ఇష్టమైన ఒక షార్ట్.
Vaibhav from Rajasthan. Okay, so like in 2001, your film Dil Chahta Hai released.
Okay.
So during that time, all the film was like a male and female, hero and heroine. And in that film, there are the 3 characters and the story all around the 3 characters. So how you managed, like according to my understanding, it was something new editing style during that time.
See, it was a young director at that time who wanted to make that film. He was very young. So it's his natural expression of how he perceives life. My job was to put it together engagingly and as innovatively as possible at that time. You know, he wanted it jump cuts and things like that, which we started in that film and things like that. So it has probably expression of youth, you know, which I was able to enjoy and contribute. I think that's how.
But I think his question was, how did you manage a film without a heroine? Was it very boring?
No, that is not. I didn't. It's not my problem. He wrote a story like that. No.
No, sir. Like I'm asking, in starting, it started from as a group story, and then you showed us separately.
No, that was, see, the 2 things. One is the story itself was written like that, you know. So it is a story about 3 friends. It's not, and their life in their youth, and how they actually have these differences of opinion and how they join back at the end. So it's about a friendship story, actually, you know. So that's how it was looked at that point. And it's not, concentration was not about their love. It's more about these three guys bonding together.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I can have the last question, please. Yeah.
So you have edited in 17 films, different languages, 17 different languages. So cinema doesn't have languages what people normally say. But we all would like to know about the journey of like working in different languages, because the nuances and the practical difficulties, everything you would
See,
like to know.
it is a bit sort of a difficult process initially to work in languages which you don't know. Initially, there was no option because that's only the job I was getting, so I was doing some languages. And then you get used to working with a certain people, but there is a common language in between us, which we understand, which is probably English, Hindi. So you have to understand what is being spoken. So it has to be either translated or something like that. And you understand it and then you execute it. So it will take more time than normally for a language which you already know. But it still can be done, because basically what is a slight advantage was that they're all Indian films, most of them, 90% or more. So then they have, the emotions are not difficult to understand. The cultural backdrop is different, but what is happening between a brother and sister is very similar what is happening in Assam or Tamil Nadu, mostly. So mother and son or mother and daughter. So these emotions we don't have, you know, it's not like alien. It's very similar, I feel.
Okay, sir.
Dialect,
last question.
dialect I have tried to understand and then.
Sir, Suresh Sharma, journalist and documentary filmmaker, जो जंप कट है उसको स्मूथ करने के लिए क्या करना चाहिए?
ब्रिज बनाना चाहिए.
वो दिखा सकते हैं actually, वो clip,
Dole song? Okay.
So that will actually answer. See, there is a certain rhythm at which you can cut the shots for a jump cut, you know. That rhythm is very important. In a song, the rhythm is already there. But otherwise, if you're cutting, I think we call it, in editing, we call it metric, which is having similar lengths in jump cuts, you know, which makes it, because the mind, suddenly the cut is happening. When it goes from one to one to one, there is a certain rhythm which happens in you musically. If the shots are also cut very equally, it will not look so jumpy. So I have a small example which I can show, because lack of time we didn't show that, but you can show. See,
yeah.
I had a lot of footage of one particular character where I have to show his whole lifestyle. But there was no chance because it will just pull down the film. So we just cut it into a jump cut scenario in 2 minutes as a song. Let's see it. Rhythmic in duration. So then it doesn't, the jump cut doesn't irritate you because you fall into rhythm with the jump cuts.
Yeah, I think that's all. Yeah, I think.
No, ladies and gentlemen,
No, we can't have 7 last questions.
We truly appreciate your active participation, but due to time constraints, we will not be taking any more questions for today. Ladies and gentlemen, Let's give a big round of applause to Sreekar, Prasad sir and Saikat sir for joining us today and leading us on this journey from vision to screen. Thank you, dear audience, for joining us today.